So I did a few videos where I reacted to 1-star reviews of different Cosmere books, and for a while I thought I was done with it. But quite a few of you seemed to enjoy the videos and wanted more of it, so I'll be doing these videos for the rest of the Stormlight Archive books at least. Today we'll be looking at Words of Radiance and reacting to 1-star reviews left for it. If after these videos you guys seem to enjoy it, I may do it for more Cosmere books I haven't touched on yet. Let me know what you think of that idea in the comments below. Also, just as a reminder, this is very much more of an ad-lib and not planned reaction. There is no script, there is no structure here, so we're just going to be diving right in. And remember that if you'd like to buy the Stormlight Archive books, there will be a link in the description below. You can grab your books and you'd be helping the channel out by doing so. But with all of that out of the way, let's jump right in with the first review. Victoria says, "What a disappointment. I'm not a reader of fantasy, but dove into The Way of Kings after much hype about it on BookTube. I loved The Way of Kings, all 1,200 plus pages. It was a different reading experience for me and very entertaining. I really looked forward to the second book and bought Words of Radiance and the third book, Oathbringer. That was a mistake. I found Words of Radiance boring, tedious, and realized at 700 pages that hardly anything has happened. The characters were stale, the dialogue insufferable, barely above 5th grade reading level. I found myself skimming and just wanting all the chapters that focused on Shallan to be over as quickly as possible. 1,300 pages of this was unfortunately the end of the Stormlight series for me. The good that came out of this was an interest in fantasy, and I will try Robin Hobb next." Now, it's really unfortunate that this book is actually one that made her drop the series, because I personally think that Oathbringer is definitely worth getting to, considering it's my favorite Stormlight Archive book. That said, it does seem like she suffers from the same issue that a lot of people have with Words of Radiance, and that is the Shallan chapters. And considering that Shallan is the focus character for Words of Radiance, yeah, you're gonna run into those. And I wonder what the actual issue is with the community and with Shallan. There seems to be this trend in the community where Shallan is, at least out of the 3 main characters we have from the first 3 books, she's the least liked. Most people like Dalinar and Kaladin, but Shallan is kind of left by the wayside when it comes to love from the community. Now, I personally do like Shallan, I'm just not sure why a lot of people don't. And clearly Victoria over here is one of those that feels the same way. So I won't bash her on that choice, because a lot of people do agree with her. However, she says here that the dialogue is barely above a 5th grade reading level. And I'm gonna have to disagree. I'm pretty confident in saying that any Cosmere books are definitely not YA. They're at least adult level reading, and there are quite a few words in there that I would definitely not say it's a 5th grade reading level. Maybe she was being a bit facetious here, maybe she was just trying to kind of, bash the book a little because of her disappointment, but I definitely wouldn't agree with that. At the very least, I can say she did finish the book, which I highly commend her for, because if it were me and I was struggling to actually get through a book, I probably would drop it and not finish it. But of course I wouldn't review it. Point is, kudos on her for at least giving it a try, and I have respect for her honest opinion here. And at the very least, there's a new fantasy fan created. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. This reviewer says, "I look forward to reading the synopsis for the series on Wikipedia, but I think I hated this book. I only read it because the first book's ending made me hope this one would finally have something happen, and I felt tricked. Especially once I came to the end and had the same feeling. This might become better, surely now the story must start, right? But then I remembered the weeks of misery coming to this point, and I decided I will not continue the cycle of abuse. I wish everyone who likes this book to have fun. I didn't, and so I will see how this elaborate joke plays out in the end." Well, here's another reviewer that clearly doesn't like Sanderson's writing style. And I think that's the issue with the Stormlight Archive. If you're going to go into the Stormlight Archive, I personally feel you kind of have to be used to Sanderson's style, and his style is very much a very slow burn with a strong and quick flash of excitement and stuff happening and wrapping up at the end, known as the Sanderlanche. So, if you're not someone who's into a slow burn, and if you're not someone who knows that your time invested will be paid off by the end, then you really shouldn't read the Stormlight Archive books in my opinion, because then it's clearly not for you. This reviewer read Way of Kings and saw how that played out, and then expected for Words of Radiance to continue with the same high level of hype, not realizing that Sanderson basically does a slow burn for each one of his books. Again, it's really down to personal preference, and unfortunately another fan here was lost, but I can't really bash this reviewer for their opinion on it, because I can definitely understand if you didn't know going in how it works, that you would be disappointed. Now you could say on the other hand that they should have known how it works because they finished the first book, but they clearly aren't a Sanderson fan because they would have realized that's basically how he structures all of his novels. Anyway, I've been on this one for far too long, let's move on to the next one. Christopher Bunn says, I've been looking forward to this book for a long time. Sometimes anticipation is better than the thing anticipated. I struggled through the first few chapters and then set the book aside. Maybe I'll try it again another time. Those first few chapters were dull, drowning in names, and written in a slapdash impressionist style where words are thrown around like splatters of paint in the hopes that a masterpiece emerges from the canvas. I usually like Sanderson's writing. The last book of his that I read was Steelheart, which I enjoyed. This one, however... Okay, hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Steelheart, number one, not only his most disliked book by the fandom, but also number two, a YA book? I might be wrong on the YA part, but I have seen some people say that they really don't like Steelheart. And I personally haven't read it because I'm kind of just in the Cosmere, though I do intend on reading his other works. Anyway, now on to the big issue I have with this reviewer. He says that he put it down after the first couple of chapters. If you put it down after the first couple of chapters, tell me, why did you review it? Just explain that to me. Why? I don't understand. I don't get the people that don't finish a book and then decide to review it anyway. Imagine I were a professional video game reviewer, but I only played the tutorial and then said, oh no, the game is crap. What? What? Okay, now in all fairness, he's not a professional. But the point stands. If you're going to review something, you owe it to the creator and to the other potential fans who might be interested in it to at the very least give it a full chance. Finish it. If you don't want to finish it, if you don't enjoy it, that's perfectly fine. But then don't review it. I'm sorry, maybe it's just the fact that I kind of take quite a bit of pride and that I have, you know, quite high standards for myself when it comes to reviewing. I feel like I have to really, number one, I have to finish the damn thing, but number two, I also have to like really look into it deeply, look at the different aspects, see how they all play together, etc., etc. So I have that standard for myself, and maybe it's wrong of me to have it for other people. But if you're going to publicly review a book and affect its rating on the biggest book rating site in the world, then you owe it to the other readers to at the very least have finished it. Am I wrong here? Am I just crazy? I don't know. Anyway, he also says here that the words were slapdash with an impressionist style and was thrown around like splatters of paint and blah blah blah. I kind of think that's just down to personal preference. I don't recall Words of Radiance starting out that way. Is he talking about maybe the different terms he throws about, like spren and investiture? I don't even know if that's in the book, but, you know, is it that? Because obviously that makes sense if you're actually in the world. I don't know. But, yeah, my big issue here is definitely reading it and not finishing it, but then still reviewing it. That's a major pet peeve. I've tried to overlook it in the past, but I just can't. Anyway, before my blood pressure gets even higher, let's go on to the next one. Rebecca Dibbs says, I will probably get flamed for this, but this book is really bad. First, the pacing. World building is not the same as tedious description, and so many things that are tediously described are really bothersome. I have no idea why hand burkas are so integral to this story, but they seem to really be. Okay, hold on. Hand burkas, I'm sorry, that term, okay, that was funny. Anyway. The idea of spren was interesting in the first book, but towards the end of this book, the word was starting to have about as much meaning as the word smurf. I also have a very hard time buying that a couple of weeks of con artist training can make anyone a master spy, and the whole drawing compulsion thing is unbelievable. It reads like a mental illness. However, the Parshendi are what really bothered me when I finished the book. It was already really bad optics to have the white humans attacking the black and red aboriginal Parshendi tribes that I think are non-human, but the consequences of that Everstorm is that all Parshendi everywhere are going to become storm form Parshendi. Oh my god, okay. Okay, let's finish reading what they have to say and then we'll dig in. So, instantly, every single Parshendi is instantly a cardboard cutout target, even the ones in distant countries who have never heard of this conflict. So essentially, what this looks like is the high fantasy version of the zombie apocalypse. There is now a ravening horde of the other that the protagonist may kill with impunity. Okay. Rebecca. Whew. Okay, I'm gonna try and not get too angry here. Let's take it bit by bit. First, she starts off saying things are tedious, lots of description, blah blah blah, hand burkas, that was funny. Okay, on the hand burkas thing, the safe hand thing, it's just a piece of world building. There doesn't have to be a reason for it. I mean, why do women wear veils at weddings or things like that, There's a lot of social fashion choices that are part of society that we don't really have an explanation for. Why is it that women wear skirts and dresses? Like, why have they always worn that? What practical use was there for that? I mean, thousands of years ago, everyone kind of wore togas, right? So, what happened to make the men go into trousers and the women to dresses? We don't know, but it's still part of it. So, that is what Sanderson was doing with the safe hand thing. Anyway, I guess that's not majorly important here. Next, she says that the idea of Spren was interesting, but towards the end, it had no meaning or things like that. Well, Rebecca, if you paid attention, you'd realize that Spren actually play a major role in the story. I mean, geez, isn't Syl maybe a major character? Isn't Syl maybe important? How about Patton? Isn't Patton important? I mean, the f***ing Stormfather... Sorry. Whew, I'm just getting a bit upset here. The Stormfather as well is also a Spren. Like, these characters and these creatures and these beings, they're all integral to the story. You talked about the Stormform Parshendi, who all need Spren to go into, like, it's important to the story. It's not just some useless world building. Okay, calm down, Raven. Let's move on. Next, she also mentions that the con artist training makes you a master spy, things like that. I get that Shallan isn't really indicated as a master spy, and Shallan kind of goes through a lot of spying to actually earn the title of becoming, the leader of the Lightweavers. But I digress. I can kind of see where you're going here. But the next part. Okay. So, Rebecca decided to go political here. Rebecca decided to say that it's bad optics for the white humans to be attacking the black and red Aboriginal Parshendi tribes. Okay. Hear me out, Rebecca. How about the fact that none of the Alethi are white? How about that? How about the fact that all of the Alethi, if, put into Earth context, would be considered Asian? How about that, Rebecca? How about that? Also, black and in apostrophes and red, do you not realize that the Parshendi are tricolored? They also have white in them. What do you have to say about the white Parshendi with very thin red stripes in them, with no black? What about them? Are they all of a sudden not Aboriginal, or are they all of a sudden... Like, your argument makes no sense because you clearly don't know much about the world. Did you actually read it properly? Breathe. Maybe I'm being too harsh on somebody who clearly just kind of skim-read the book and then rated it on Goodreads. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But if you're going to make accusations, which kind of implies that Brandon was being really racist, then I'm sorry, but no, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm not going to just let it lie. Because Brandon, if anything, is one of the least racist authors, I guess if you can put it that way, that I know of. He's always trying really hard to be inclusive with race and with gender and with sexual orientation. All these things are everywhere in the Cosmere. And none of the Alethi are white. It's like you're reading something and you want to see something in it. So you just naturally see something in it. And also the fact that she mentioned the Parshendi all around the world. Does she realize that this conflict was only happening in the Shattered Plains and that all other Parshendi were just Parshmen that were under the control of the humans? Clearly not. She didn't even think about that. How about the fact that she says that all of them become cardboard cutouts without really even getting to the next book where the actual conflict between the races becomes way more apparent and you actually get to see the quote-unquote human side of the singers. You actually get to see the personality and the fact that they are actual genuine people. I mean, she even says that she thinks they are non-human. Yeah, they're non-human, but they are genuine people. If you'd gotten to the next book, you'd know it. Okay. I'm good. We're moving on. And finally, we're at the last review. Linen Pine says, bland characters full of Hollywood cliches, not one original idea or thought can be found in this garbage mess. There's no tension, nothing is at stake, and even if someone dies, rest assured that's a trick, they're coming back. That said, if you're a comic book fan, you might like the book since it has so many elements comic book fans tend to like. Superman flying away saving people, X-Men discovering their powers, and last but not least, incredibly banal philosophies masqueraded as deep insights. The book also contains a cliched love triangle. How wonderful. Sanderson just does not have any original thoughts or ideas of his own. Okay, so Hollywood cliches, I disagree, but I can see how some people might see that. And also the fact that there's nothing at stake if someone dies. Well, I guess you can say that of Radiance since they're hard to kill, but at the same time, like, you're reading Words of Radiance, you haven't even gotten to any major character deaths yet. Whatever, it's fine. And at the same time saying, like, if you're a comic book fan, you'll like it. Yeah, sure. I mean, Sanderson is very open about the fact that he grew up with geek culture. He clearly likes comic books and the comic book heroes, things like that, and he works that into a magic system. But people enjoy it. It's still good fantasy. Just because there are aspects and comparisons you can make does not make the actual storytelling bad. But other than that, I can still kind of get what you're trying to say. However, you then go on your final sentence to say that Sanderson just does not have any original thoughts or ideas of his own. There is so much wrong with that sentence. Like, Sanderson clearly is a very original writer. There's a reason the Cosmere is so big. There's a reason that, in all likelihood, in the next 50 years, Sanderson will be seen amongst the greats like Tolkien and Robert Jordan and all of these gigantic authors. He'll be seen on par with them. Like, it's really obvious that at some point there probably will be adaptations of almost all his Cosmere works. So, for them to say that, I take huge issue with it because there's a lot of originality in the Cosmere. But I think I'm gonna call it here, guys. I just can't. These reviewers, maybe I should stop doing these 1-star reviews. I don't know. I'm just causing myself headaches, and I think you guys just enjoy seeing me rage. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to see more, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, that has been it from me for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. My name has been Raven, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody.